It's been 46 days. No arrest. No suspect named. No proof of life. Just hours ago, law enforcement announced that Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home is finally being turned back over to her family. After weeks of searching, processing DNA, and sealing off the property, officials say it's no longer an active crime scene. But the investigation? That is far from over. Because while one door is closing, the FBI just walked through another one. And this time, it leads to a Mexican restaurant in downtown Tucson. Not for chips and salsa. Not for a press conference. Not for a community outreach event. The FBI walked into a restaurant where Savannah Guthrie sat with her 84-year-old mother, Nancy, just 3 months before Nancy was kidnapped from her bedroom in the middle of the night. And the questions they asked the staff tell you exactly what the FBI thinks happened on January 31st. They asked, was there anyone here who looked suspicious when Savannah was filming with her mom? Anyone lingering? Anyone taking photos? Anyone who got angry? Anyone acting creepy? Anyone who saw one of the most famous women in America having lunch with her elderly mother and thought that mother is worth something? 50 customers were in that restaurant the day Savannah filmed. 50 people who could have seen Savannah's face and recognized it. 50 people who could have walked out of that restaurant, gone home, opened a laptop, typed Savannah Guthrie's salary into Google, and seen the number $40 million. Then typed Nancy Guthrie address and found a house in the Catalina foothills. An 84-year-old woman living alone. One doorbell camera. No alarm system. The FBI wants to know if one of those 50 people walked out of that restaurant with a plan. But here's what makes this story bigger than one restaurant. Because there is another restaurant in this case. A completely different restaurant. A completely different investigation. A completely different set of facts. A restaurant where a glove was found with DNA on it. And the sheriff already cleared the worker whose DNA was on that glove. Just like he cleared the family on day 16. Just like he released Tommaso's closest friend after 40 minutes of questions and never called him back. Just like he sent a full SWAT team to an innocent man with no record and let a convicted burglar walk free. The sheriff has cleared more people in this investigation than he has arrested. And the number of people he has arrested in 46 days is 0. The FBI has cleared nobody. Because the FBI is still working. Tonight, I'm going to show you 2 restaurants, 2 investigations, 1 pattern, and a Google search that the FBI traced back to someone who was looking for the exact information you would need to kidnap the mother of a $40 million television anchor. The sheriff closes doors. The FBI keeps opening them. And behind one of those doors is the answer to what happened to Nancy Guthrie. Before we continue, I want to be clear. This video is commentary and analysis based on publicly available information. No individual named in this video has been charged with or arrested for any crime related to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff's Department cleared all family members on February 16th. The questions raised here are analytical and do not constitute accusations.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? I know there were reports earlier this week and you refuted that. You said you haven't eliminated everybody. Have you eliminated him or come close to it, or are you actively looking at him?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. We would be irresponsible if we didn't talk to everybody. The Uber driver, the gardener, the pool person, whoever. Everybody. It's so cliche, but everybody's still a suspect in our eyes. That's just how we look at things and think as cops. Does that mean we have a prime suspect? No, and the family's been very cooperative. They've done everything we've asked of them, and we want that relationship to continue. And sometimes people can be mean out there, and that can really harm us and harm our efforts.
The sheriff closes doors. The FBI keeps opening them. And behind one of those doors is the answer to what happened to Nancy Guthrie. Before we continue, I want to be clear. This video is commentary and analysis based on publicly available information. No individual named in this video has been charged with or arrested for any crime related to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff's Department cleared all family members on February 16th. The questions raised here are analytical and do not constitute accusations. Let's go back to October 2025. Savannah Guthrie came home to Tucson. Not for a family visit, for a production. NBC's Today Show was filming a hometown segment, the kind of warm, nostalgic television package where an anchor returns to the city that raised her and revisits the places and people who shaped her life. Schools, neighborhoods, old friends, and restaurants. One of those restaurants was El Charro Cafe, the oldest family-owned Mexican restaurant in the United States, founded in 1922 in downtown Tucson. A local landmark. On the day Savannah walked in with a camera crew, her mother Nancy, and her sister Annie, the place was open for business. About 50 customers were dining in the main restaurant while Savannah's crew filmed in a private dining room that had been closed off specifically for the production. The cameras rolled. Savannah sat next to Nancy. And Nancy, 84 years old, warm, proud, completely unaware that she had just 93 days left before a man in a ski mask would enter her home, answered a question about why she loved Tucson. She said, "Asterisk, it is so wonderful. Just the air, the quality of life. It is laid back and gentle." Asterisk, a mother and her famous daughter. On camera, in a restaurant, with 50 strangers on the other side of the wall. That footage aired on the Today Show. It went to YouTube. It went to NBC's website. And it joined the growing library of publicly available information about Nancy Guthrie that anyone with an internet connection could access. That library already included something devastating. In 2013, 12 years before the restaurant filming, Savannah had done a different Today Show segment. This one was filmed inside Nancy's home, inside Nancy's bedroom. The cameras showed the room, the bed, the furniture, the window positioning, the layout. Megyn Kelly found that clip in March 2026 and said on her show that she could write a ransom note describing the inside of that bedroom without ever stepping foot in Arizona. Everything was on camera. Everything was on YouTube for 13 years. Now add the October 2025 restaurant footage. Nancy's face, Nancy's voice, Nancy's connection to Savannah, one of the most recognizable women in American media. Anyone in that restaurant who looked across the room and saw a camera crew, who recognized Savannah's face, who watched Nancy sit beside her, that person now had a face to attach to the address they could find on Google, a mother to attach to the salary they could look up in 10 seconds, a target to attach to a house they could drive to in 15 minutes. The kidnapper didn't need to know the Guthrie family personally. He didn't need an insider feeding him information. He needed one afternoon at a restaurant. And then a computer. Brian Enton, who has been on the ground in Tucson since the first week and has produced more original reporting on this case than any other journalist, revealed on his March 11th podcast that the FBI went back to the restaurant where Savannah filmed and questioned the staff. His exact words, asterisk, investigators even went back to some of the places they visited, like the Mexican restaurant. And I was told that the FBI has even been there, sort of investigating, because they went there as part of that segment. Asterisk, he continued. Asterisk, at the Mexican restaurant, they were telling me that the FBI came by and said, "Was there anyone here who looked suspicious when Savannah was here filming with her mom?" The FBI also asked whether anyone wanted to take pictures, or who got angry, or who was lingering around in a creepy way. Asterisk. Those are not general questions. Those are stalker identification questions. The FBI is not asking about the food. They are not asking about the parking lot or the security cameras. They are asking whether a specific type of person, someone with fixation, someone with intent, someone who does not belong, was present at the restaurant on the day that Savannah Guthrie's famous face sat next to Nancy Guthrie's unfamiliar one in a room full of strangers. Nancy Grace reported that agents spent Wednesday and Thursday questioning workers. 2 full days of interviews at a restaurant that Savannah visited 3 months before the crime. 2 days is not a casual follow-up. 2 days means the FBI has a reason to believe something happened at that restaurant that connects to what happened at Nancy's house 93 days later. Professor of Forensics Joseph Scott Morgan appeared on Nancy Grace's show and said, asterisk, obviously, the FBI knows something about this. They think there is something of value there. Asterisk Security Director Brian Fitzgibbons added something that went even further. He said the restaurant search asterisk expands the periphery of folks Nancy was interacting with. Asterisk, but that's the polite version. What he really meant is this. The FBI is now looking beyond the family, beyond the neighborhood, beyond anyone Nancy knew personally, and into the world of people who saw Savannah on television and identified Nancy as accessible. Now, there is a discrepancy we need to address directly. Ray Flores, president of the restaurant's parent company, Flores Concepts, told the Tucson newspaper on March 19th that he has yet to hear from investigators. His exact words, "We would have talked to the FBI. They never called us." That directly contradicts Inton's sources. So which is it? Either the FBI spoke to line-level employees, cooks, servers, bussers, without contacting the corporate owner, which is common in criminal investigations when agents want raw information before management shapes the narrative. Or Inton's sources were mistaken about the specific restaurant. Or the FBI used a different approach that didn't involve formal contact with the parent company. Both accounts exist. Both are reported by credible sources. The audience should weigh them. But what is not disputed is the question itself. Was anyone watching? And what that question reveals about the theory the FBI is pursuing. On Nancy Grace's crime stories this week, Security Director Brian Fitzgibbons said something that has received almost no attention relative to its importance. He said the restaurant investigation followed information that someone searched Google for Savannah Guthrie's salary along with Nancy Guthrie's Catalina Foothills address. Pause on that. Someone typed into a search engine 2 queries that together form a kidnapping blueprint. How much does Savannah Guthrie make? And where does Nancy Guthrie live? One search gives you the value of the target. The other gives you the location of the target. Together, they answer the 2 questions every criminal asks before committing a crime. Is it worth it? And where is it? Savannah Guthrie earns approximately $8 million per year according to publicly available reporting. Her net worth is estimated at $40 million. Her mother lives alone in a house in the Catalina Foothills of Tucson, Arizona. No alarm system. One Nest doorbell camera. Hearing aids that come out at night. A pacemaker that connects to an app on her phone. Medication that cannot be missed for more than 24 hours without serious health consequences. And a 14-hour window between 9:30 p.m. when the family leaves after dinner and 11:30 a.m. the next morning when someone would check on her. All of that information was either publicly available or discoverable through basic online research. The salary is on celebrity net worth websites. The address is in property records. The hearing aids, the pacemaker, the medication, some of those details may have come from the 2013 bedroom segment, from social media, from public records, or from observation. If that Google search is real, and it was reported on national television by a security professional analyzing the case, even if not confirmed directly by the FBI, then investigators have the digital footprint of the person who typed it. An IP address, a device identifier, a location, possibly a Google account. The distance between that search query and a name could be very short. One subpoena to Google, one IP trace, one address, and the timeline writes itself. October 2025 *, someone sees Savannah at El Charro with Nancy. Goes home, opens Google, types the salary, types the address, finds the house, finds the 2013 bedroom footage on YouTube, studies the layout, studies the window beside Nancy's bed, sees the value, sees the vulnerability. November and December * planning. January 11 * scouts the neighborhood on a Saturday. January 24 * scouts again on a Saturday. January 31 * arrives at 2 a.m. with a gun, a walkie-talkie, a Walmart backpack, and a plan 3 months in the making. 5 points on a timeline that begins with a lunch at a Mexican restaurant. Before we go further, I need to separate 2 stories that the internet has been conflating for 2 weeks. Because there are 2 restaurants in this case, and they have nothing to do with each other. Restaurant number 1 is not El Charro. It is a restaurant located near Nancy's home in the Catalina Foothills, a completely different part of Tucson. In mid-February, approximately 2 weeks after Nancy disappeared, a black glove was found about 2 miles from her house in a field near a roadside. The FBI said the glove appeared to match the type worn by the masked suspect in the doorbell footage. The public held its breath. The DNA on the glove was extracted and tested against Cody's, the FBI's national database of more than 26 million criminal offender DNA profiles. No match. The suspect had never been entered into Cody's, or the glove didn't belong to the suspect. Investigators then traced the DNA through additional genealogical testing to a worker at this nearby restaurant. Sheriff Nanos told KVOA, asterisk, the owner of the glove we found working at a restaurant across the street. It has nothing to do with the case. Asterisk, the PCSD confirmed in a separate statement that this person is not considered part of this investigation. The glove DNA did not match the DNA found at Nancy's property. The DNA on the glove and the DNA inside Nancy's house came from different people. 16 pairs of gloves were found in the area around Nancy's home during the search. Most were traced back to members of volunteer search teams who discarded them while working. The black glove with DNA was one more dead end. A restaurant worker's glove that ended up in a field 2 miles from a crime scene it had nothing to do with. That's Restaurant 1, cleared by the sheriff. Closed. Done. Restaurant 2, El Charro Cafe in downtown Tucson, is the one the FBI went to this month. The FBI did not go there because of a glove. They went because Savannah filmed there with Nancy in October 2025, because someone in that restaurant may have been watching, because a reported Google search connected Savannah's salary to Nancy's address, and because the FBI does not accept the sheriff's habit of closing doors before the evidence behind them has been fully examined. 2 restaurants, 2 investigations, 2 completely different reasons for being in the FBI's field reports, and one pattern that connects them. The sheriff clears, and the FBI keeps digging. The sheriff's handling of this investigation has followed a pattern since week 2, and the restaurant is the latest example. Let me walk you through every person the sheriff has cleared, released, or dismissed in 46 days, and what the FBI did immediately after each one. The Guthrie family, cleared on day 16, February 16th. All siblings and spouses. The sheriff's exact words, asterisk, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects. Asterisk, he said the family was cooperative and gracious and called them victims. He said to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. But think about what did not exist on day 16. The house DNA had not come back from the Florida lab. The glove had not been found. The Wi-Fi disruption analysis had not started. The pre-crime surveillance dates, January 11th and January 24th, had not been identified. The camera thumbnail images from the pool, backyard, and side yard had not been recovered by FBI engineers working with Google. The task force inside the FBI building had not been formed. The contractor names had not been requested. The restaurant investigation had not started. The tattoo had not been identified. The walkie-talkie theory had not been developed. The sheriff cleared the family before any of the evidence that now defines this investigation even existed. He drew a conclusion. And then the evidence arrived. The FBI responded by embedding 5 PCSD homicide detectives inside the FBI's own Tucson office, not inside the sheriff's building, to work this case under FBI supervision full-time. Dominic Evans, Tommaso Caian's closest friend, creative partner, bandmate in Early Black since 2007. They released an album together in 2010 titled Life, Love, Murder. Evans has 4 criminal convictions from public court records: burglary, robbery, theft, embezzlement. 3 of those 4 involve the unlawful entry or seizure of someone else's property. Evans matches the suspect's physical description: approximately 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, average build, dark mustache, and goatee. Internet sleuths compared his wrist tattoo from old band videos to the suspect's wrist tattoo visible in the doorbell footage. Evans lives in Tucson. Evans met Nancy once at an Easter egg hunt in 2011, per his own statements. The sheriff questioned Evans for approximately 40 minutes and released him. Evans told the New York Times he has not heard from investigators since. The sheriff said Evans is going through hell and suggested he sue for defamation. But the sheriff also said, asterisk, on the record, I am not ready to clear anyone outside the family. Asterisk, Evans is outside the family. Evans has never been publicly cleared. 40 minutes for a man with 4 convictions, including burglary, who matches the suspect, who lives in the city, whose bandmate's car has been in pieces for 46 days. 40 minutes, and nothing since. The FBI responded by asking neighbors for camera footage from January 11th and January 24th, requesting names of all contractors and construction workers near Nancy's home, and continuing to build the investigation from inside the FBI's own building, not the sheriff's. Luke Daly, February 13th. A man living approximately 2 miles from Nancy's home. The sheriff sent a full SWAT team. Roads closed. Armed officers. Daly was pulled from his residence, detained, questioned by the FBI for approximately 5 hours. His gray Range Rover was seized and towed from a Culver's parking lot. Luke Daly has no criminal record. He does not match the physical description of the suspect. He has no known connection to Tommaso Cyan, Dominic Evans, the Guthrie family, or anyone associated with the case. He was released with no charges. SWAT for the man with no record, no connection, and no physical match. 40 minutes for the man with 4 convictions, a physical match, a matching wrist tattoo, and a direct relationship with the last person to see Nancy alive. The glove restaurant worker, DNA traced from a glove found 2 miles from the house. Sheriff said nothing to do with the case. Cleared. Confirmed by PCSD in an official statement. The FBI responded by going to a completely different restaurant, El Charro, and spending 2 days questioning workers about whether someone was stalking Savannah and Nancy during the Today Show filming. The sheriff closed the restaurant angle. The FBI opened a new one. That is the pattern. For clearances or releases in 46 days. 0 arrests. And after every single one, the FBI moved in the opposite direction. More detectives. More footage requests. More contractor names. More restaurant interviews. More doors opened. Every door the sheriff closes, the FBI opens 2 more. The stalker theory explains something that has bothered investigators and analysts for weeks. The ransom notes going to media instead of to the family. A stalker obsessed with Savannah wouldn't send a ransom demand to Savannah privately. A stalker wants to watch the object of his fixation suffer publicly. He sends the ransom to TMZ, to KWLD, to KGUN. Because the point isn't the money. The point is watching Savannah beg on camera, watching her cry on Instagram, watching her offer $1 million on national television. The ransom was not a negotiation. It was a performance. And the audience of that performance was one person, the man who took Nancy. Here's where I leave you. 2 restaurants. 2 investigations. 1 pattern. At 1 restaurant near Nancy's home, a glove was found with DNA. The sheriff traced it to a worker. Cleared. Nothing to do with the case. Door closed. At a second restaurant, El Charro in downtown Tucson, the FBI questioned workers about whether someone was watching Savannah film with Nancy in October 2025. Asterisk, was anyone lingering? Taking photos? Acting creepy? Asterisk. The FBI did not close that door. They opened it. A forensics professor said the FBI knows something about that restaurant and thinks there is something of value there. A security director said the investigation followed a Google search that combined Savannah's salary with Nancy's address. A timeline builds from October to January. Restaurant. Google search. January 11th scouting. January 24th scouting. January 31st crime. 5 points. 1 line. And the sheriff, the man who cleared the family before the DNA came back, who gave Evans 40 minutes and never called back, who sent SWAT to a man with no record while a convicted burglar walked free, has produced 0 arrests in 46 days. 0 suspects named. 0 Nancy. The FBI has 5 detectives inside their own building. Camera footage from 3 pre-crime dates. Contractor names from houses on Nancy Street. Restaurant interviews spanning 2 days. A reported Google search trail. And a task force that does not go home at 5 p.m. Every door the sheriff closes, the FBI opens 2 more. That has been the pattern since week 2. It held this week at the restaurant. And it will hold until the right door opens. The one with a name behind it. A name that connects the restaurant to the Google search, to the scouting dates, to the porch at 2 a.m. The sheriff may be done looking. The FBI is not. And behind one of those doors, the restaurant door, the contractor door, the tattoo door, the DNA door, is the person who took Nancy Guthrie from her bedroom 46 days ago. Somebody knows. And the FBI is not going to stop until that person either comes forward or is found. If you know anything about this case, a vehicle, a name, a face at a restaurant, a Google search, something someone said after a dinner with Savannah Guthrie, the FBI tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Tips online at tips.fbi.gov. The 88 crime line is 1-888-88-CRIME. The combined reward is $1.2 million. $1 million from the family, $100,000 from the FBI, $102,500 from ADA crime. Tips can be anonymous. The reward can be paid in cash. If you were at El Charro the day Savannah Guthrie filmed with her mother, and you remember someone who seemed out of place, someone who was paying too much attention, someone who lingered after the cameras left, call the tip line. That memory could be worth $1.2 million. Leave a comment. Tell me, which pattern do you trust? The sheriff who clears everyone, or the FBI who keeps opening doors? Subscribe, because this case is moving. The task force is active. The doors are still opening. And behind one of them is the answer. We'll be back the moment anything breaks.